Hello everyone. It had been a decade since I last saw my ex-wife, but fate had other plans when I unexpectedly bumped into her at a convention booth. I had purposely kept a low profile to avoid running into her new husband, and his family, and I had successfully managed to stay under their radar. To my surprise, she walked past me without recognizing me, sparking a mischievous idea in my mind. I may have a streak of being a bit of a troublemaker when I choose to be. You might be wondering why my ex-wife's husband's family would be searching for me. Well, the twist is that they were my family as well. In a twist of fate, her current husband is actually my biological older brother, making his parents my parents and his sisters my sisters too. When things fell apart, I decided to leave everything behind and start a new life. For the past 10 years, I have been going by the name Victor Reynolds. Victor was always my middle name, and the surname Reynolds came from a sticker I saw on a Reynolds window when I needed a last name. As for Carla, in our high school days, she was known as Bishop. We shared a classic high school romance filled with first loves, senior prom, and, yes, we were each other's first. I was in love with her, or at least I thought she loved me. Turns out she was more in love with my family's money. Yeah, my family had money. Mom and Dad owned a medium-sized manufacturing plant where we manufactured electronic components. We had several standard components, but that wasn't our main source of income. Seriously, the Chinese kicked our butt with their prices. We kept it up with the Made in America requirements. Most of our market was small-scale, high-value items, specialty components that we designed and built based on customer needs. It turned out to be highly profitable. Okay, so some info on my family. There was Mom and Dad, of course. They started the business before I was born. Dad had a degree in electronic engineering, while his best friend had a degree in manufacturing engineering. My great-grandfather on my dad's side had made a ton of money during the Depression by loaning money to people who couldn't afford it to buy houses when they couldn't the payments need to be made. The land was foreclosed on because he actually sold the same piece of land to multiple people. This may shed light on where my family inherited their lack of morals from. Eric is the older brother I mentioned, and I also have twin sisters who are younger than me. They were the youngest in the family and were quite pampered. Their attitude was self-centered, only caring about things that directly affected them. When things got tough, they took the path of least resistance. This behavior probably explains their actions when things went wrong. After getting married during our sophomore year of college, we had been married for 5 years when I came home early one day to find her in bed with my older brother. In short, I was just a means to an end for her. Eric would eventually take over the family business while I would remain in a subordinate position. Eric had all the power, prestige, and access to society that Erica once held. Carla and I were high school classmates who began dating during our senior year. Both of us attended the local college, and when Carla became pregnant at the end of our sophomore year, we married over the summer. Carla chose to drop out to care for the baby, while I continued my studies with the support of my family. We were only 20 years old when we tied the knot. As our daughter Megan turned 2, Carla started working as an administrative assistant at my family's company, where they provided on-site daycare for employees. Although we always used protection, Carla became pregnant again because she had a bad reaction to birth control pills. Despite a couple of unusual incidents over the next 5 years that interrupted our intimacy, I didn't think much of it at the time. I had hoped for more children, but it hadn't happened yet. This had happened yet. I was really hoping that this time, we would have a boy. I adore my daughter, but every husband dreams of having a son to carry on the family name. I understand the arguments from feminists who say a woman can maintain her married name and that a father can teach his daughter everything he would teach a son. Girls can also have interests traditionally associated with boys, such as liking muscle cars, racing, becoming mechanics, and enjoying sports. However, there is still that ingrained desire in men to have a son as an heir. Let me clarify that I do love my daughter and am grateful that we have her. But having a son would truly be the cherry on top for our family. Our 5th anniversary is approaching at the end of the week. I have bought her a beautiful matching set of earrings and a necklace from a local jeweler. I took a break from work to pick it up and plan to sneak it home to hide while Carla is still at the office. Both Carla and I work at my family's business. I quickly picked up my daughter's gift and rushed back home. Upon approaching the house, I was surprised to see Eric's car in the driveway, even though he was supposed to still be at work. I had a bad feeling about this unexpected visit. Parking on the street 2 houses down, I quietly made my way to the unlocked door. Following the sounds, I eventually reached the master bedroom where I found Eric and Carla together. Despite the shock and anger I felt, I managed to keep my temper in check. I discreetly recorded video evidence for 5 minutes before quietly leaving the house. I'd overheard snippets of their conversation, indicating that their affair had been ongoing for quite some time. While my emotions were running high, I realized the importance of gathering all the necessary information and devising a plan before confronting the situation. Reacting impulsively would only lead to more complications. I would like to request for a fairer distribution of assets and less emotional distress during this divorce process. The current laws seem to unfairly favor unfaithful partners over the innocent ones, especially when considering the well-being of any children involved. It feels unjust that she might receive the house in custody, while I am burdened with mortgage payments, minimal visitation rights, and spousal maintenance obligations. To protect myself, I've kept this situation private until I had a plan in place. And let's not forget about the recent jewelry purchase. That's definitely not going to her. It took me 3 months to prepare for this moment. You might be expecting me to describe how I avoided intimacy with my soon-to-be ex, but that's not the case. Despite the circumstances, I have enjoyed her company as much as possible. Additionally, I wasn't overly concerned about contracting any diseases, as she was only involved with my brother. Not the entire community avoiding intercourse made her suspicious, but I successfully portrayed the role of a caring spouse and father. Additionally, I had no desire to engage in paid encounters with strangers. Prior to this revelation, I managed the IT department within the company. It seemed that my family regarded me poorly, likely overlooking the significance of my role. My team oversaw all software, hardware, and programming across the organization's technology infrastructure. With my exclusive access to what I refer to as God codes, I could navigate any device within the company, including laptops, desktops, smartphones, CNC machines, and 3D printers. I even reprogrammed the office coffee makers. A word of caution: be cautious about discussing deceitful schemes using company equipment when the IT manager is involved. Within minutes of arriving at my office, I had gained access to and was reviewing their text messages. I discovered ages in emails, beginning with those of Carlos and Eric. As I delved deeper, I learned that even my parents were aware of the situation. Shockingly, it appeared that my entire family not only knew that my brother was having an affair with my wife, but they also seemed to condone it. This revelation pushed me to the breaking point. Just when I thought things couldn't possibly worsen, I learned that the child I believed to be my daughter Megan was actually Eric's. The 2 miscarriages that caused temporary interruptions in our intimacy were pregnancies resulting from my own biological relationship with my wife. The betrayal and deceit fueled a burning desire for retribution. The more I unraveled, the more intricate my revenge scheme became. One thing became clear: never underestimate the IT guy. My knowledge runs deep for a reason. I have been betrayed and now seek justice. He was motivated by pure greed. Eric was being groomed to take over the company, while I remained as just a minor shareholder and head of it. The plan was to keep me around until Carla asked for a divorce to marry Eric, whose income exceeded mine by far. They were biding their time, relying on me to keep the operations running smoothly until they could find a replacement if necessary. While they hoped I would accept my position, they also wanted a backup plan in case I left. Taking care of their child and supporting Carla allowed Eric to accumulate wealth to support his new family better. Additionally, they intended to keep me unaware of the true parentage of Megan, leaving me on the hook for substantial child support payments. Over the next 3 months, I gradually diverted funds from our investment accounts to a new one in the Cayman Islands. And so I sold Carla on the idea of taking out a second mortgage on the house to install a huge swimming pool and entertainment area in the backyard. Of course, she agreed to that. It would make it so she and Eric could do more entertaining. and I would be on the hook to pay for it. It took a full month for the loan to go through. I stashed that money in the offshore account. As well, I would bring home some designs about once every 2 weeks to show her that I was working on it. I did the designs myself while I was supposed to be working. I even put a notice on an online website that we would be taking bids on the work. We ended up interviewing 5 different contractors. I hired a PI to place hidden cameras in the house while Carla was at work. They were high definition and also recorded audio. Everything was recorded to a cloud server that could only be accessed by me, the PI, and my divorce lawyer. I continued to copy all their emails and text messages. I also printed out hard copies and kept them in a safe place. I opened a new safety deposit box at a different bank under the alias Victor Reynolds, anticipating the fallout when the truth emerged. I set up social media profiles and a fake website portraying Victor Reynolds as a successful entrepreneur with impressive credentials. While these fabricated details wouldn't withstand thorough scrutiny, they served their purpose. Obtaining forged documents is relatively simple with the right resources, such as official-looking photos and false information purchased online. Approximately 2 weeks later, an anonymous package arrives at your office and never underestimate the power of the AI. It is always risky to trust the words of dishonest individuals. To uncover the truth, I conducted a DNA test by swabbing Megan's cheek while she slept, then collecting Eric's DNA from a glass he used at a party. After sending the samples for analysis, I eagerly awaited the results, using my access to company emails to retrieve them. I had plans to use this evidence in a divorce settlement, aiming to expose Carla's deceit and Eric's incompetence. Knowing Eric's true nature as a bully and fool, I was confident that his own actions would lead to his downfall when he eventually took over the company. His shortcomings were sure to bring about the company's collapse in a couple of years. Not only would the company face bankruptcy, but its owner would also be shunned in the industry for dismantling a once thriving business. I decided to assist in this downfall. Feeling that the family owed me for their mistreatment towards me, I devised a plan involving fake accounts, invoices, and subtle alterations to the financial systems through a few lines of code. These actions were significant enough to inflict damage once discovered, but not blatant enough to immediately raise suspicion. They were also designed to secure my own financial future if necessary. With these manipulations in place, the next phase involved creating a virtual bomb that was set to detonate under specific conditions. Taking a week to engineer, this bomb was not a literal explosive device meant to cause physical harm. As a computer programmer, my expertise lay in crafting a software tool that would disrupt the company's financial operations and efficiency when activated. Its trigger was set to respond to particular circumstances, providing me with the option to initiate its effects when deemed appropriate comment. Or it would go off when certain pre-programmed events took place. It would cause every computer and smartphone in the entire company to simultaneously crash. Every computer control machine would suddenly either stop working or, worse yet, go haywire. For those that went haywire, I had a special plan. Those were the CNC and milling machines. Finally, the day came. Okay, I know I probably should have done it differently. Probably would have been better, or at least safer, if I would have not actually been there. Me being there gave them the chance to physically confront me. That was a downside. It meant that they could possibly hold me there and physically threaten me. Yes, that was kind of foolish on my part. Still, a train wreck is fascinating. There is a reason people cannot look away when they see one about to happen. It is almost unheard of to get enough advanced warning of one so you can plan on being there and watching it. I simply couldn't resist. Also, I did have a plan to distract. I was long gone before the need arose. Positioned in the main office lobby, I caught sight of her entrance. She appeared to be in her mid-20s, donning professional attire that seemed to enhance her already remarkable beauty. With a briefcase in hand and 3 envelopes securely tucked under her arm, the moment had arrived for me to initiate the process of filing. Proceeding to my father's office, I casually tossed a sealed envelope onto his desk, prompting him to question its contents. However, instead of responding verbally, I gestured with a 5-finger signal. A countdown ensued as I gradually lowered each finger, with only the sound of a distant whale's mournful cries breaking the silence. Another set of fingers arose for a subsequent countdown, following which a man's voice could be heard exclaiming in surprise. As the final countdown began, the stunning blonde made her presence known in my father's doorway, addressing him in a charming Georgia accent reminiscent of peaches and honey. Upon confirming his identity, she presented him with the last envelope before announcing, "Y'all have been served. Have a nice day." Before departing, she swiftly snapped a photo. I exited swiftly with the envelope in hand, a clear indication of my intentions. Before anyone could react, I quietly resigned, citing a hostile work environment created by the company's management and owners who endorsed the inappropriate relationship between the company president and a manager's wife. Legal action followed, with Carla served divorce papers, and Eric faced with a lawsuit for fostering a hostile workplace and causing alienation of affection. I'd also initiated legal proceedings against Eric for back and future child support. Having already packed up my belongings from the office and home, as well as secured our finances, I was well prepared for the next chapter. She was able to act on my behalf in my absence. When the door shut behind me, Ethan Brooks ceased to exist, and Victor Reynolds emerged. It would be a decade before I crossed paths with any of them again. Counseling was mandated. My lawyer was unaware of my whereabouts, and I kept it that way. The case was dismissed. Despite being ordered to pay child support, evidence proved that the child was not mine and that I had been missold. My countersuit against Eric for child support was successful. When she sought alimony, I was unemployed while she was making more than me. My lawyer declined any alimony from her graciously. She was given the house through a quitclaim produced by my lawyer, along with her remaining assets. Eric moved in shortly thereafter. Having relocated to the West Coast, the alienation of affections lawsuit went unresolved. Eric did eventually compensate me for boat storage fees. The boss of the company was sued for creating a hostile work environment due to his extramarital affair with an employee's wife, resulting in a $2 million settlement. I received over $4 million from various legal actions and other sources, including money taken from the company. Despite the fact that the employee's wife was entitled to some of the funds, I made it difficult for anyone to locate me or the money. I later caused significant damage to the company by triggering a malicious attack that disrupted operations for 2 weeks, resulting in production delays and financial losses. Subsequently, I started my own IT consulting firm using an offshore LLC to maintain anonymity. 2 years after leaving, I achieved relative success. However, a traffic accident necessitated significant facial reconstructive surgery. Turning this setback into an opportunity, I opted to enhance some aspects of my appearance that had always troubled me. Addressing what I perceive as a large nose and a weak chin, I underwent minor adjustments. Due to my dislike of my chin, I had worn a goatee since 18. Post-surgery, I embraced a clean-shaven look, drastically altering my appearance. The trucking company liable for the accident covered the costs. Additionally, I improved my fitness level, transitioning from casual gym goer to engaging in more intense workouts during the demanding physical therapy post-accident, getting into the routine of pushing myself harder during workouts. It was tough in the beginning, but I quickly realized how much better it made me feel. Not only did I notice significant improvements in my physical appearance, such as developing a defined six-pack and gaining muscle in my chest, legs, and arms, but it also boosted my confidence. I transformed from a standard, somewhat slender office worker to a muscular and self-assured man. As for the incident with the company, it was entirely their fault. The driver was speeding, fatigued from a long day of driving, had falsified his logbook, and the truck was poorly maintained. Following that event, I took ownership of the company and promptly implemented new safety protocols, resulting in the dismissal of 5 drivers. This led to an enhancement of the company's reputation and an increase in business. I sat down with NTSB regulators to present my plan for enhancements and kept them informed throughout the process. As word spread about the changes, our business reputation flourished, and even the insurance rates decreased upon seeing the improvements being made. I had hired a couple new mechanics and made sure that all the trucks and trailers were properly maintained. So between my consulting business, the trucking company, and a plethora of good investments, I was very well off. Now I was looking across the room at my ex-wife for the first time in 10 years. Those old feelings of betrayal and anger began to surface again. Sure, I got all of them out of my life, but they never got punished for what they did to me. I never got any real revenge on any of them. That's when an evil plan began forming in my head. I would pay them back just the same way as they betrayed me. It was obvious that Carla hadn't recognized me. She had walked right past me, looked directly at me, and smiled. It was one of those smiles that women give to a man that they are attracted to. It wasn't really flirty, just probably unconsciously telling him that she finds him attractive. This was going to be fun. I knew her weaknesses and motivations. I had exactly the proper bait I needed for this, I thought. Suddenly, I had a thought. I pulled out my phone and checked the date. Yet perfect, my plans expanded to include even more destruction. I just needed to convince her that it was safe. I sauntered over to the booth she was at. I really had no use for anything that her company provided, but she didn't need to know that. I began looking at the brochures on the table, pretending to be interested. "Do you have any questions about any of our products or services?" a feminine voice asked. Pretending to see her for the first time, I answered, "Actually, I do have a few questions, but I am afraid that I don't really have the time right now to properly get all the information I would like. I am interested in a couple of products, and I'm looking at needing a large supply of each. Unfortunately, I am on my way to a meeting right now." "Oh, okay. Can you stop back by later?" "Unfortunately, I won't be available until around 7 o'clock this evening marks the closing time for the expo. Feel free to take my card. I will be at my hotel and available to meet you if you'd like to discuss further. To make it more enticing for you, how about we make dinner reservations at Mario's, a top Italian restaurant in the city, for 7 o'clock. You can bring your husband along for this business dinner. I'm Victor Reynolds, the owner of Ray Industries LLC, and I'm interested in potentially placing a large order with your company. Your enthusiasm is evident, and I believe our businesses could benefit from each other. Let me know if you'd like to join me for dinner and talk more about our potential collaboration." She couldn't stop thinking about money, her gaze lingering on my stylish Armani suit. "That sounds great. It will just be me this time. My husband couldn't make it," she said, not offering to include any colleagues, hinting she wanted the full commission for herself. "Unfortunately, they're all busy. It'll just be me, but I can handle all your questions," she assured me. I smiled and walked away towards the exit, not having a meeting but heading back to my penthouse suite to plan my next move. After freshening up, I changed into another Armani suit to maintain my affluent facade. I couldn't wear the same one as before, wanting to project success for my upcoming revenge. Arriving at the restaurant lobby, I noticed Carla already waiting. Dressed to impress in a revealing little black dress, she stood tall in 5-inch CFMs, and I was curious about whether she wore thigh highs or stockings with a garter belt. Her low-cut dress hinted that she had skipped the bra, and I couldn't spot any panty lines on her shapely hips. She seemed eager and receptive, making it clear that I didn't need to try hard to win her over. It all felt a bit too effortless. As we had dinner, she answered all my questions and elaborated on why her product outshone the competition. We delved into details like costs and quantities. I played along, indicating how impressed I was and promising that she would be our choice when we decided to order. However, I explained that we couldn't place the order just yet, as we were still finalizing specifics like the order size and distribution across different locations. When we were ready, she would be the one we contacted. 2 weeks still did she know that I had absolutely no use for any of her products, and even if I did, I wouldn't purchase them from her company. I would go to her largest competitor instead. Dinner over, I suggested it was still early and maybe we could hit the nightclub next door for a drink or two. She was more than happy to comply. I'm pretty sure that while she was getting ready for dinner, she took the opportunity to look up my information on the internet. It would show her that I was indeed as wealthy as I appeared. The way she held my arm and molded herself to me as we danced, I couldn't help but wonder if she were thinking of trading up again. After a couple of drinks and several dances, we were up in my suite. No, she wasn't drunk. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was the one who suggested it. Yeah, I could see the dollar signs shining in her eyes. Oh, and I had discovered as we were sitting in the club that she was indeed not wearing panties. Instead of even the slightest protest as I ran my hand up her thigh, eliciting a smile as she increased the invitation by spreading her legs wider. "I'm not on the pill," she mentioned between kisses as I made my way to her neck and earlobe. "Don't worry," I assured her. "I've had a vasectomy and can't use latex due to allergies." With her agreement, we indulged in 3 sessions that night. The following day, she moved into my suite, and we continued our intimate escapades every night. On the last morning of the conference, she inquired about my relationship status. Noticing my bare left hand, I decided to have some fun. "No," I replied. "I was previously married, but we drifted apart. We tied the knot too young and ended up divorced. I'm still searching for the right person to settle down with. Would like to see you again. I am starting to feel a strong attraction towards you. It's not just about the physical aspect. I also enjoy our conversations and simply being in your company. However, I understand that you are married, which could potentially complicate things if we were to pursue a relationship. Right now, we are more like roommates, not even sharing a bedroom or being intimate. Before I can fully commit to anything, I need to address some business matters that will involve a lot of travel in the coming months. I will reach out to you once I have sorted through these issues, if you are still open to it. Until then, let's keep in touch." As we checked out of the hotel, we parted ways with the promise of staying connected. I discarded her business card and contacted a security firm before boarding my flight the following Monday. Keep a close eye on Carla and my former family for at least the next few months. Contrary to what she had told me, she and her husband were far from simply roommates. The security firm managed to place hidden cameras and microphones inside the house. They averaged having sex 3 to 4 times a week. Yeah. It was illegal as hell. But this security company was really good at getting information. I didn't care about most of the crap they did, but I was needing some specific information. One thing I found out was that, surprisingly, Eric was completely faithful to Carla. At least he was now. Can't say for sure about the previous 10 years. He was also wanting another kid, preferably a boy. I also found out that they had a ritual for the night before either one of them had to travel. They each tried to wear the other one out with sex. That made me smile. It was 2 months later when I got the last piece of news that I was hoping for. I watched the camera feeds as she was setting up the living room. I watched the reveal when Eric stepped through the door. "Congratulations, Daddy. You managed to knock me up again." He was stunned, then overjoyed. "How far along are you?" he asked. "About 2 months. You must have done it either the night before I had to leave for that week-long conference in Las Vegas, or it was the night I got back. Apparently, she still believed that I was shooting blanks. She did call and leave a message tearfully telling me that she and her husband had reconciled. She wouldn't be able to run off with me. That gave me a good chuckle. After that, I had the security company remove all the cameras and stop watching them. I could get the rest of the information on my own. I set a reminder on my Outlook calendar for a couple of months down the line. It was just about dead on 9 months after the conference. I was checking the birth announcements in my hometown. There was a picture of Carla holding a newborn baby boy, with a smiling Eric looking over her shoulder. I had complete. While transitioning management across all my companies, I took a moment to view a photo online from my luxurious property in Costa Rica. This was just one of the many properties I owned around the world. No longer going by Victor Reynolds, I had strategically left that identity behind. I now focused on finalizing my plans for revenge. Switching to a new Gmail account created for this purpose, I prepared to delve into Carla's perspective. It had been 2 weeks since the birth of little Victor. Reflecting on how I convinced Eric to name our child after his predecessor, I understood that Victor couldn't be the biological father due to his vasectomy. Eric was the one responsible for my pregnancy either before or after my business trip. Naming our son Victor was my discreet way of cherishing the memorable moments we shared during that incredible week. My husband was overjoyed when we welcomed a son into our family. However, his behavior took a strange turn a few days after the birth, leaving me feeling uneasy. As I settled the baby down for a nap and my daughter occupied herself in her room, preparing dinner, the front door suddenly crashed open. Eric accused me of infidelity, referencing a past incident in Las Vegas. Stunned, I denied the accusations, perplexed at how he could have discovered this information. Despite some recent thoughts about another man, my commitment remained with Eric, especially after learning we were expecting another child. As he threw an envelope at me, the situation escalated further just as I noticed his parents and twin sisters had entered the house behind him, and I barely managed to catch the envelope before it hit the floor. Who is this guy, Eric? I was completely in the dark about what he had mentioned 2 weeks ago, until I received an email with a link to a website containing videos of you with someone else during the Las Vegas conference 9 months ago. The email hinted at the need for a DNA test for the baby, claiming there were surprises in store. One major shock was that I wasn't the biological father. After taking a few deep breaths, he continued, expressing a desire to uncover Victor's true paternity. To my disbelief, it turned out that Eric wasn't Victor's biological father. Upon opening the envelope which contained the DNA test results, it revealed that there was only a 40% likelihood of Eric being the father. While Victor shared some of Eric's DNA, there was another genetic component present and neither of us recognized it. It was clear that Eric and Victor shared some DNA, but not enough to suggest that Victor was really Eric. This realization left Eric in shock. The scream heard was from the narrator's mother-in-law, though it was uncertain. Although Victor bore a slight resemblance to Ethan, DNA could not be denied. While not the father, Victor was closely related to the real father. There were no other close male relatives besides Eric's father who could match the DNA. This left the narrator with the unsettling realization that they had unintentionally slept with Victor, mistaking him for Ethan during a fertile time. This discovery led to doubts about Ethan's computer skills and the possibility of him falsifying medical records. Reflecting on past abortions from pregnancies with Ethan, the narrator realized they had been deceived, deliberately chose not to have any children with him. However, in a surprising turn of events, I recently gave birth to his son. I had connected Ethan with his sibling, inadvertently connecting Eric's sibling with Ethan. It was clear that he was aware of this and had orchestrated it intentionally. When everyone questioned what was happening, I was taken aback. He looked so different from how I remembered him a decade ago, but I'm certain that he recognized me. He knew just how to manipulate the situation, pushing all the right buttons with precision. He seduced me, claiming to have undergone a vasectomy and even providing medical documentation. Knowing my cycle so well, he must have calculated that I would be at my most fertile that week. It dawned on me that he likely remembered my previous abortions and had deliberately avoided having children with me. Infuriated by his actions, I decided to take legal action. He had sued me for child support regarding Megan, so now I would reciprocate and pursue child support for our son. As Ethan Brooks vanished in the past, Victor Reynolds was now a mere memory. Eric's legal efforts for child support led to no significant outcome. Eric and Carla chose to remain together, resulting in Eric being accountable for child support for both Megan and Victor until they completed college. Additionally, he was obliged to provide financial support for their family, including spousal support, mortgage payments, and a portion of their assets. Ultimately, Eric decided it was more cost-effective to stay in the relationship. Despite staying together, the bond between Eric and Carla was irreparably damaged. They now found themselves in a loveless marriage, functioning more as roommates with occasional physical intimacy. The once intimate connection had diminished, leaving them to merely satisfy their physical desires. Eventually, they sold their home and quietly separated after Victor departed for college. Victor, though not biologically related to Eric, would continue to receive love and care from his family. Carla's nurturing instincts and the doting of his grandparents ensured Victor's happiness. The couple resolved to keep Victor's true parentage a secret. As Eric had always desired a son, they never had any more children. As for me, I remarried and we now have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. I cherish them every day. Occasionally, thoughts of my other son cross my mind. While it would be nice to reconnect with him and have him in our lives, it's currently not feasible. Once he comes of age, I might consider discreetly reaching out to him. He will be surprised to learn he is included in my will when I pass away. Over the years, I sent my parents 4 anonymous emails, the first informing them of my marriage, which they were not invited to, and subsequent ones announcing the birth of their grandchildren, whom they wouldn't meet. It was my way of making them understand the emptiness they caused. Despite their attempts to find us through private investigators, I believe it will be a challenge to locate us. You may question my actions, and I won't argue, but please keep in mind, do you recall the events that transpired? I believe that seeking some form of retribution was justified. Betrayed by my brother, I decided to retaliate. My former wife chose not to have children with me, but did so with my brother. To balance the scales, I orchestrated a situation where she unknowingly bore my child while married to my brother. To me, this act served as a form of justice. I invite you, dear listeners, to share your views in the comments section. Don't forget to engage with the content by liking, sharing, and subscribing.